Welcome back to another walkthrough. This walkthrough we're going to work on Excel Chapter 3. This is our first Excel chapter in this class, and it is a little bit different than we've experienced with our Word chapters. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and download our Chapter 3 Grader project. And we'll download our materials. And we only have 2 files to download this time around. Once again, don't download this, all files. It downloads a zip file. So let's go ahead and download and print our expenses, instructions, and then go ahead and download your student file. And then once you're done, go ahead and open up your student file. And hit Enable Editing. Now, the very first things I want you to notice is it is a very similar interface. We have our tabs along the top. Many of the tabs are the same. Under those tabs, we have our groupings. Once again, very similar to Word that we've worked with the last few weeks. And let's go ahead and get started. So down here, we have our rows and our columns. And where the rows and the columns meet is what's called a cell. So this right here is cell A1, cell A2, cell A3. And also you can see what the active cell is right here by looking at our active cell box, A1. We have our formula bar here, which is where you would type in your formula or any text that you want to type into a cell. We also have our FX button here, which is how we will insert functions. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So looking at the instructions, it says in the expenses worksheet, calculate row totals for each expense item in F5 through F9. So if you look over here, we have F5 all the way down to F9, and we want to add these rows together. So there are many different ways that we can do this. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and click on cell F5. And notice F5 is our active cell. We have our box going around it. F5 is our active cell up here. And let's go ahead and add these 4 together. So one way we could do this is I could come up here to my formula bar, and I could hit the equal sign. Whenever you type in the equal sign into Excel, it tells Excel to expect some kind of a formula. So if you type in the equal sign and type in B5, notice when you type in B5, and it doesn't have to be a capital B, notice how it puts a box around this. And hit the plus sign and type in C5. Notice now we have a different color box around C5. And then I'm going to hit the plus sign again, and I'm going to type in D5. And now I have a different colored box there. And I'm going to hit the plus sign one more time and type in E5. So there we go. I have equal sign B5 plus C5 plus D5 plus E5. And now I have a box on each one of these different colored boxes, meaning that they are all going to be added together. And go ahead and hit the enter button. And when you hit the enter button, notice that it will give us a total row here, or a total. And the reason why you want to have a formula here instead of just typing in the sum of these numbers is because if we were to change one of these, it would automatically update this total. But what we just did was probably the hardest way or the longest way to type in a formula. There are easier ways to do it. So, for instance, now that we are in cell F6, I could come up here and I could click on this insert function dialog box right here. I can click on FX. It's going to open up my insertion box here. And I'm going to find where it says sum. So if I don't see sum in my list here, I can actually come up here where it says type a brief description. I can type in sum, S-U-M, and hit go. And it'll bring sum right up to the top of the formulas. This is the formula that you use to add together numbers. So I'm going to click on sum and hit OK. and it's going to give me a dialog box here. So in order, I'm going to move this down here. So I want to add together B6 to E6. So that's easy to do. Right here, I can go ahead and type in B6 colon E6. And what that's going to do is it's going to select this entire range here for me. It's going to select B6, C6, D6, and E6 whenever you use a colon. I'm going to hit OK, and now it will add those numbers up for me. Now another thing that I could do is, since I already put this sum in, I can go ahead and copy this formula down. So notice right here at the very bottom of this box, there is a dot. I could go ahead and hover over that dot. Notice I get this black crosshairs, this black cross. I can hover over that dot, click hold, and drag that all the way down to F9. And it will give me the sum rows for each one of these. Now if I click here, it says sum B7 to E7. If I click here, it says sum B8 to E8. And if I click here, it says sum B9 to E9. So I copied the formula down and it tailored it for our different rows. Now I also want to total each of my quarters, and I also want to total my annual totals here. So now what I can do is, another thing that I can do is I can come right down here to B10. I can go ahead and click on cell B10. And if I come to my home tab up here under my editing group, notice that there is an AutoSum feature. So this is another way you can add a row together. I can go ahead and click on this AutoSum, and it will automatically put in my formula and select the data that I want. And I can just go ahead and hit enter. So a much easier way to do that. I can also do that for multiple cells. So if I were to come here and say I wanted to total all of these together, I can highlight this entire box here all the way down, including the rows that I want to add, the numbers to add to. So if I were to come up here, don't click on that little auto handle, but you want to click somewhere inside the cell, so right here in the middle of the cell, and drag all the way down. And if all of these are highlighted, including the where we want the totals to go, I can come up here to my editing group. I can click on that AutoSum, and notice it will automatically put it in for me. It will have put in the formula to add this, to add here, to add here, and it will have put it in here to add this up as well. So now I have all of my totals in. Now it says in cell B5, we want to construct a formula that will give me a percent of whatever the total salary benefits is compared to the total by quarter. So basically I just want to take this number and divide it by that number. So that's easy enough. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to click on cell G5. And I'm going to come up here to my formula bar. And once I'm in my formula bar, I'm going to hit the equal sign to tell Excel that I'm going to insert a function. And I want to divide F5. So I'm going to type in F5. Notice how F5 is now highlighted. And I'm going to do the division key, which is the backslash right there. And then I want to type in F10. However, we are going to be copying this formula down. So what happens is, if I were to leave this formula as is, and I went to copy it down, it would tailor it for each row. So it would change F5 to F6 right here, but it would also change that F10 to F11. Now that'll give us an error because there is no number in F11. And when we copy it down again, it will go to F12. And if we copy it again, it'll go to F13. There are no numbers here, so we'll get an error. So we need to tell Excel that we are always going to refer to F10. We don't want that to change when we copy our formula down. So we want to do what's called an absolute cell reference. So go ahead and hit your F4 key at the top of your keyboard. Now if you have a laptop, most likely you're going to have to use the FN key to do that. However, if you are still having issues, say you have a Mac and you can't use the F key, all you have to do is put a $ before and after the F right here. Notice how I have this situated. It says F5 divided by $F $10. You can just put those $ in manually to make it an absolute cell reference. So go ahead and hit enter. And now we come up with a percent because we haven't changed it to we have a decimal because we haven't changed it to a percent yet. But now I want to copy this down to G9. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on cell G5. And to copy this down, I'm going to hover over this little dot right here. This little dot is my autofill handle. I'm going to click hold and drag that all the way down to G10 and let go. Or I'm sorry, G9 and let go. And it will copy that down for me. Now if you don't click on anything, and right now the entire row is highlighted, we can actually change our formatting right now since everything is selected. Yes, I know this right here is not grayed out like the rest of them. That just means that in this selected range, this is our active cell. But we'll learn more about that in future chapters. So now we want to apply the percent style. So under our home tab, come over here to the number grouping and click on this percent sign right here, percent style. And we want to center it. So we're just going to come over here to our alignment and click on center. All right, so now we have here, if you look, we have salary and benefits is 33% of our total by quarter. Machine and equipment is 13% of our total by quarter. So it just gives us a quick percent of what our sales are for each different quarter. So now we want to put a 3D pie chart to our annual total for each item. And then we want to move that chart. So we're going to do a 3D pie chart. So to do the 3D pie chart, we're going to highlight A5 all the way down to A9. Then hold down your control key. While holding your control key, highlight your annual totals right here. So what you should have is salaries and benefits all the way down to miscellaneous, and you should have annual total all the way down to F9. And now we can go ahead and put in our 3D pie chart. To do that, we'll go to the Insert tab. And from our Insert tab, we'll come over here to Charts. And we have a pie chart right here. Notice this icon. It says Insert Pie or Donut Chart. We'll click the down arrow. And we are going to do a 3D pie chart. And here it is. Here is our pie chart. But we want to move this to its own separate worksheet. And so to do that, we're going to come up here to our Chart Tools Design tab. And right here it says Move Chart. We'll go ahead and click on Move Chart. And we're going to move it to a new sheet. And we're going to name that sheet Annual Expenses Chart. So once you type in Annual Expenses Chart, go ahead and hit OK. And it will move it to its own worksheet. And now we're going to do some customizations to our chart. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to change the chart title. So where it says chart title, go ahead and click on it once. And then go ahead and click on it inside again. That way our cursor's inside there. And now we can use our arrow keys, delete chart title, and then go ahead and type in summary annual expenses. And then once we've typed that in, go ahead and click on the outer border right here. Click on the outer border of our chart title. And when we do that, it will take our cursor outside of it and it will select our entire title. And we want to change this to a word art style. So we're going to come up here to our chart tools. We're going to click on Format. Under our word art styles right here, I want to click on the down arrow with the line above it. And I'm going to find the one that says Fill Blue Accent 1 Shadow, which is the second one right here. And I'm going to click on that, and it's going to change this. And I want to change it to a font size of 28. So I'm going to click on my Home tab here, and I'm going to change the font size from 14 to 28. Notice how it gets much bigger. For step number 6, it wants us to remove the legend from the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here to our little plus button that we have right here. We have a plus button. If I click on that, it shows chart elements. I am going to uncheck where it says legend, and notice that the legend is now gone. And I want to put data labels inside our pie chart. So I'm going to click on data labels. I'm going to put a check mark next to data labels. And then I'm going to come over to this arrow next to data labels. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to select more options. So now here under more options, it wants us to have the category name. It wants us to have the percentage. And we want to uncheck value and uncheck show leader lines. We also want to center our labels. So right here, notice now we have everything centered. We have the category names and the percent. We also want to apply a 12 font size and bold italics. So to do that, I'm just going to come over here to my font grouping. I'm going to change this from 9 to 12. And I'm going to bold it and italicize it. Now for step number 7, it wants us to format the data series using a 3D format effect. Well, that's easy enough, but notice that we have our data label selected. Well, we don't want our data label selected, we want our pie chart selected. So come down here to this blank area right here on this pie and just click once. And when you click once, notice now we should have a dot here, you should have a dot here, a dot here, and a dot here. And it says Format Data Series on our sidebar. Well, that's where we want to be. So we're going to click on the pentagon here, which says Effects. And I want to do our 3D formatting. So I'm going to click on the arrow for 3D formatting, and it's going to give us a bunch of options. We're going to change our top bevel and bottom bevel to circle. So let's go ahead and click on here on our top bevel. Now, for some reason, the word updated, it is now round. So go ahead and click on round. And go ahead and change the bottom bevel to round as well, or circle, whichever it is on your particular cell. And we're going to change the top bevel height and width to 50. So I want to change it from 6. I'm going to change that to 50. And then I want to change the height to 50. And then I want to change the width of the bottom bevel to 256 and the height of the bottom bevel to 256. And now we're starting to look more like a frisbee. And we also want to change our material to standard effect metal. So where it says metal right here, go ahead and click on metal. Under standard, we want to find the one that says metal, which is the last one here. And it's going to give it a nice metal glossy finish to our chart. But we're not done just yet. Now we want to set the angle of our first slice to 125. So we're going to come over here to our series options, this little 3 bars right here. And we want to do our angle of first slice. We want to change it to 125 and hit enter. Notice that we'll put our salary and benefits right to the front. And we want to explode this salary and benefits by 10%. But right now, if we were to type in pie explosion to 10, it would actually explode all of these pieces because all of them are selected. We need to select just the salary and benefits. So go ahead and click on the salary and benefits slice once. And notice when you click on it once, now these dots are only around the salary and benefits slice. There are no other dots up here. So now with just the salary and benefits selected, come over here to point of explosion and type in 10 and hit enter. And it's going to pull that slice away to bring highlight to it so we can take a look at it and see it just a little bit better. We also want to change the font or the background color of just this slice. So this slice is selected. We're going to come over here to our paint can where it says fill and line. And we're going to click on fill. And we're going to do a solid fill. And we are going to change the color to green accent 6 lighter 40%. So green accent 6, so it's just going to be this last column. And the lighter 60% is going to 40% is going to be right here. Go ahead and click on that and notice it will change the color for us. So now on step number 9, it wants us to format the chart area. So the easiest way to select the chart area is come up here to our chart tools and click on the format tab. And from the format tab, come over here to where it says current selection. And let's click this down arrow right here. And let's select our chart area. And now notice that right here it should say format chart area. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a gradient fill. And we're going to use one of our preset gradients. So where it says preset gradients, go ahead and click on preset gradients. And we want light gradient 4. It says it's the fourth column, first row. So it should be this one right here, light gradient accent 4. So let's go ahead and click on that. And notice how it changes our background. We also want to format the border. So let's go ahead and scroll all the way down in this box here. And notice at the very bottom it says border. Let's click on border. And then scroll down more. And we're going to do a solid line border. And our color, we're going to click on color. And we're going to do a gold accent 4. And then we want to change our width from 0.75 to 5. So let's go ahead and type in 5 right there. And notice how we get a real thick gold line going around it. And hit enter. Alright, so we now have a nice looking chart here. It wants us to display the page setup dialog box. So we're going to come up here to our page layout tab. And from our page layout tab, we have our page setup group. We have this little guy right here, which if you click on it, opens up our page setup dialog box. And we want to insert a custom footer. So right here it says header footer. Let's click on header footer. And we want to do a custom footer. So let's click on custom footer. And in the left section right here, we want to put in the file name. So I'm going to come over here to this icon, which if you hover over it says insert file name. And we'll click on that and hit OK. And hit OK again. So we're done with our summary of our annual expenses worksheet here, our chart. So we're going to go down here. Notice we have some tabs down here. These are our different worksheets in this workbook. So we want to click on the expenses worksheet. And we're going to come back to our City of Pacifica Bay where we did all of our formulas. We're done with this, so we can go ahead and exit out of our format shape sidebar here. And now it wants us to insert a line with markers chart for the quarter names and totals by quarter. All right, so that's easy enough. We're going to highlight B4 all the way over to E4. Hold down your control key again and highlight B10 all the way over to E10. Once you've highlighted these two rows, we're going to come up here to our Insert tab. And from our Insert tab, we are going to hover over our chart group here where it says Insert Column or Bar Chart. And we're going to come over here to our Charts grouping where it says Insert Line or Area Chart. We're going to go ahead and click on the line chart. And we want to do a line chart with markers. So right here it says Line with Markers. Go ahead and click on that. And notice now we have a line chart in here. And we want to make a little bit of formatting changes to this. So first thing, we want to move it so that the upper left corner is in cell A12. So notice when I hover right about here, I have 4 arrows pointing away from each other. That is my move handle. So if I click, hold, and I drag, I can drag this so that the corner is in the upper cell of A12. and then go ahead and let go. So now I want to drag my center handle, which is right here, and I want to extend this all the way to the end of column G. So I want to go ahead and click and hold this center dot right here, and I'm going to drag this all the way over to just about to the edge of G, column G, and let go. And notice that it will now make this a little bit bigger. We want to change the chart title. So let's go ahead and come up here to our chart title. Let's click on it once, and let's go ahead and click on it again. Put our cursor inside there. Use your arrow keys and your backspace key to delete the chart title, and type in City of Pacifica Bay Annual Expenses Summary. Make sure you capitalize the first letter of each word except of, and make sure everything is spelled correctly. Now notice how we have a lot of dead space down here, and we're taking up a lot of space that we could be using for something else. So let's go ahead and we're going to format this so we change the numbers that we have over here. So go ahead and click on these numbers right here. And then go ahead and right click on those numbers and click on Format Axis. And when you click on Format Axis, it's going to come up with our sidebar over here. And we want to change our minimum. So where it says minimum right here, we're going to change it to 2.1 million. So 2, 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And then go ahead and hit enter. And notice now our number starts at 2.1 million. And we get rid of some of that blank space down here. And we want to change our major unit. So where it says major, and it's right now it's going in 100,000 increments. We want to change it to 50,000 increments. So let's type in 50,000. And then hit enter. And now notice that it goes up in 50,000 increments right here. So our numbers are a lot shorter. Now we want to format the fill of the chart area. So once again, to do that, we're going to come up here to our chart tools, click on our format tab. And then over here where it says current selection, click the down arrow and do chart area. And now it should say format chart area. We're going to go to our paint can. Let's click on our paint can. And we are going to do a gradient fill. And we're going to do a preset gradient light accent 3, which is the third column, first row. So I'm going to click where it says preset gradients. And we want to select this one right here, this gray one, light gradient accent 3. Now we also want to apply the a different solid fill to the plot area. So come back up here to our current selection, click the down arrow, and select plot area. And now it should say plot format plot area. We're going to do a solid fill, and we're going to change the color to white background 1. And now we can read our chart a little bit better. It's got a little bit of styling, formatting to it. So you can change the chart area, and you can change it to a different color separate from the plot area. All right, moving on to step number 13. It wants us to copy the annual total in cell F10. So let's come up here to F10. Let's go ahead and click on cell F10. And then right click on cell F10 and hit copy. And we're going to scroll down here. And we want to paste the number, not the formula. So if we were to copy this right now, just with if we were to paste it right here without pasting a special condition, it would actually paste the formula, not the number. So we want to click on cell B35, and we're going to come up here to our Home tab under our clipboard grouping here, where it says paste. Click on the down arrow of paste. And we're going to go to Paste Special. And under Paste Special, we want to find values and number formatting. So let's see, right here it is. values and number formatting, and hit OK. And what that will do is it'll actually copy and paste the number, not the formula. So now what we want to do is we want to construct a formula that is going to take a 3.5% increase every year and add it to this number. So we want to add 3.5 to this number to get this number. Then we want to add 3.5 to this number to get this number. And then we want to add 3.5 to this number to get this number, and then so on. So to do that, let's go ahead and click on cell C35, and let's come up here to our formula bar. And go ahead and put your cursor in the formula bar. And we're going to start off by hitting the equal sign to tell Excel that we are going to give it a formula. And we are going to type in B35, because that is the number we want to start with. And then we're going to do the multiplication symbol, which is the asterisk. And then open up your parentheses. And just like in math, Excel will do all the calculations in the parentheses first. And we are going to type in B31 plus 100%. And what that's going to do is that is going to take our percent sign here, and it's going to change it into a decimal. And then from that decimal, it's going to multiply that by whatever is in cell B35. The last thing that we did not do is we need to make B31 an absolute cell reference. So let's go ahead and put our cursor right before the B31, or I'm sorry, put your cursor right after B31 and hit the F4 key, which is going to make B31 an absolute cell reference. Once again, if you don't have F4, if your laptop's giving you problems, you can go ahead and put a $ before and after the B. And once we have that, go ahead and hit enter. And it is going to give us another number here, which is going to be 3.5% greater than this number here. Let's go ahead and click back on that number. And let's use our autofill handle right here. Remember that little dot right here? Let's go ahead and click on that dot, hold it, and then drag that over. And it's going to copy that formula over for us. And it's going to take and add or multiply this by 3.5% to give us this number. And that's going to represent a 3.5% increase each year. Now it also wants us to copy the format of our B35. So let's go ahead and click on cell B35. And we'll come up here to our clipboard under the Home tab, and we'll click on Format Painter once. And then we will highlight C35 all the way over to F35 and let go. And that will now match the format of this cell right here. It'll copy the format over. All right, we're going to do a couple little house cleaning activities. It wants us to change the orientation of this worksheet to landscape. So we're just going to come up here to our page layout tab here. From our page layout tab, let's change the orientation to landscape. We also want to scale to fit. So where it says right here, scale to fit, let's go ahead and click on this little dot right here, this page setup dot. And under scaling, let's click fit to, and then we're just going to type in 1 by 1. So put a 1 here and a 1 there. We also want to click on the margins tab, and we want to center on page horizontally. And we also want to insert a custom footer. So let's go ahead and click on our header footer. Let's click on custom footer. And in the left section, we want to put in the file name. So let's click on insert file name and hit OK. And then hit OK. And we are done with our sheet. We can go ahead and hit the file tab and hit save. And we can go ahead and exit out of this. And we can come back to here, we'll exit out of this, we'll choose our file. And it should be in our downloads folder right here, our first Excel file. It's chapter 3, it should have your name. Go ahead and click on it, hit open. upload, and then submit for grading. And then we'll close the assignment. And now I want to see how well or how bad I did. So I want to scroll down to our Chapter 3 Grader Project. Click on the 3 dots and hit View Submission. And it looks like I got a 99.2. Close, but no cigar. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and see what I did wrong. And I'm going to scroll down. And it looks like I missed 0.8 points because it says my end cell was not set to G26. So maybe I moved it into the wrong spot. I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong, but I will live with a 99.2. Once again, feel free, you can do this assignment as many times as you want for the best grade possible. Feel free to contact me through Canvas, and have a wonderful day.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, as I'll be posting new walkthroughs and tech tips each week. Check back regularly for new content, and have a wonderful day.